Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about one of the most popular and collectible U.S. coins ever made, the Kennedy half-dollar coin. These coins are not just everyday pocket change. Many of them are actually rare, valuable, and highly sought after by collectors. In fact, some Kennedy half-dollars that look ordinary can be worth much more than their face value. And in this video, we're going to uncover exactly why. From their rich history, starting in 1964, to the hidden details that make certain years and mint marks so collectible, this video will give you everything you need to know about the true value of Kennedy half-dollar coins. That's why I encourage you to stay with me until the very end, because I'll be sharing details that could help you discover whether the Kennedy half-dollars you own are worth just 50 cents, or potentially a lot more. If you enjoy learning about rare and valuable coins, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of collectors. You don't want to miss the upcoming videos where I reveal more secrets about U.S. coins that people often overlook. Let's get started. First up, the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark is a coin that has become one of the most talked about coins among collectors, and it's a coin that many people overlook, even though it can be very valuable. Today we are going to explore the full history, details, and collector importance of the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar coin with no mint mark. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly why this coin is so interesting and why it deserves attention in the world of coin collecting. This specific half-dollar coin, the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar, is important because it marked a transition in the U.S. mint's history. Prior to 1971, Kennedy half-dollars from 1965 through 1970 were struck in a 40% silver composition. But beginning in 1971, the Kennedy half-dollar was changed to a copper-nickel clad composition, meaning the coin you see from 1971 onward is no longer silver, but instead a clad coin. This change is very significant because it means the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar coin is the very first year of the copper-nickel clad series, and that makes it highly collectible and important in the overall history of United States coinage. Now, when we specifically focus on the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, we are talking about the coin that was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. The no mint mark is the identifying feature, because coins struck at Philadelphia during that time period did not carry a mint mark. So when you look at a 1971 half-dollar and you do not see a letter D or S on the obverse of the coin, that means it was struck in Philadelphia. Collectors prize these no mint mark coins because they represent the main circulation issue, and they were produced in very high numbers. But even though millions were produced, not all examples are equal. Many of these coins circulated heavily, meaning they show a lot of wear, scratches, and dull appearance. But those coins that survived in excellent condition can be very valuable today. And that is why collectors seek out high-quality examples of the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark. Another important detail about this coin is its design. On the obverse, or front, we have the famous portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. This portrait has remained one of the most iconic designs in U.S. coinage history. On the reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo, we have the presidential seal with the eagle holding arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing strength and peace. This design is full of historical meaning, and it gives the coin a deep connection to American history and culture. Collectors often appreciate the artistry of these coins as much as the rarity or the value, and the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark offers both a rich design and an important place in coin collecting. Let's also discuss the specifications of this coin. The 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters. It weighs 11.34 grams, and it is composed of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to an inner core of pure copper. This clad composition was a major change from the silver coins of earlier years. Because of this change, many people saved the earlier silver Kennedy halves, but fewer people thought to save the 1971 clad issue in pristine condition. That is one reason why today, high-grade uncirculated examples of the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark can be so valuable. While circulated examples may only be worth their face value of 50 cents, or slightly more to a casual collector, The true collector's market places a premium on examples that are brilliant uncirculated or even better. Coins with sharp details, full luster, and no major scratches are the ones that can bring in strong prices at auctions and from dealers. Another factor that makes the 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark valuable is the existence of certain errors and varieties. Some of these coins were struck with double die obverse features, where the letters or numbers show doubling. These error coins are very popular with collectors and can command much higher prices than a normal example. In addition, there are reports of a few 1971 Kennedy half dollars mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets from the 1970 production year. These rare silver transitional error coins are extremely valuable, and collectors will pay large sums for them if authenticated. That possibility alone makes the 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark an exciting coin to search for, because you never know if you could find one of these special error coins in your collection or in circulation. Now, when we think about the historical context, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark also tells us about the changing use of half dollars in everyday commerce. By the early 1970s, half dollars were not used as commonly in circulation as they had been in earlier decades. Many people simply did not see half dollars in their daily change. This lower level of circulation meant that fewer people were setting them aside, and that also adds to their appeal today. Collectors want coins that are tied to interesting historical moments, and the 1971 Kennedy half dollar marks a turning point in U.S. coinage away from silver and into a new era of base metal coinage. Over the years, the value of the 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark has steadily grown among collectors. While common-worn examples may not be worth a great deal, the reality is that coins in top condition, coins with errors, and coins that have been well preserved can all be worth much more than face value. Collectors are constantly looking for coins that represent history, rarity, and beauty, and the 1971 Kennedy half dollar checks all of those boxes. The fact that it is the very first year of the Clad series makes it a cornerstone coin for anyone building a collection of Kennedy half dollars. Another aspect to consider is that Kennedy half dollars, including the 1971 with no mint mark, carry emotional and historical significance because of their connection to President Kennedy. This coin series was created as a tribute to him after his assassination in 1963, and it quickly became one of the most beloved coins in American history. That emotional connection means that collectors often want to own examples from every year, and the 1971 no mint mark coin is a necessary piece of that collection. The demand for this coin will likely remain strong for many years to come because of that historical connection. In conclusion, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark is a coin that might seem ordinary to some people, but to collectors it is both historically important and potentially valuable. Its status as the first Clad issue, its connection to President Kennedy, its design, and its collectible varieties all make it a coin worth paying attention to. If you find a 1971 Kennedy half dollar with no mint mark in your collection, it is worth taking the time to examine it carefully, because depending on its condition and whether it has any special errors, it could be a very valuable coin. Next up, the 1976 Kennedy half dollar coin is one of the most iconic and collectible half dollars in American history, and today we're going to take a deep dive into this coin, talk about its background, its features, its history, and most importantly why this coin is considered valuable to collectors and coin enthusiasts. Many people overlook the 1976 Kennedy half dollar, but when you really study it, you realize just how important it is in U.S. coinage. The 1976 Kennedy half dollar was minted to celebrate America's bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This was a massive event in U.S. history, and the U.S. Mint decided to mark the occasion with special designs on several circulating coins, including the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar coin. The Kennedy half dollar was a centerpiece of the celebration, and the 1976 coin has a very special reverse design that immediately sets it apart from other half dollars. Normally, the Kennedy half dollar carries the presidential seal on the reverse, but the 1976 Kennedy half dollar is unique because it shows Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the site where the Declaration of Independence was adopted. Above Independence Hall are the words, 200 Years of Freedom, and around the rim of the coin you see the dual date 1776 to 1976. This instantly makes the coin stand out and has made it a favorite among collectors for decades. On the obverse, the coin still features President John F. Kennedy's profile, as designed by Gilroy Roberts, which has been on the half-dollar since 1964. But the dual-dated year makes the obverse special too, since you will not see a simple single date like other years. The 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is truly a one-year type coin, and that adds to its collectability and value. Now, many people wonder if the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is valuable. The answer is yes, it is valuable, but its value depends on several factors such as condition, mint mark, and composition. Millions of these coins were made for circulation, but because it was a commemorative issue, many were saved by the public and kept in coin jars, albums, and collections. Still, high-quality examples in uncirculated condition or in special collector editions can carry strong premiums. One of the most interesting things about the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is that it was minted in two compositions. The coins made for general circulation are copper-nickel clad, the same as most modern coins. But the U.S. Mint also produced special collector versions in 40% silver. These silver bicentennial half-dollars were sold in sets and are especially valuable to collectors today. If you come across a silver 1976 Kennedy half-dollar, it is definitely worth more than face value. Even the clad versions can be valuable, especially if they are in excellent condition or have unique characteristics like strong strikes, high luster, or interesting errors. Collectors often search for coins with sharp details on Independence Hall or a clean and well-defined portrait of Kennedy. The 1976 Kennedy half-dollar, with no mint mark, was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Since coins from Philadelphia in this era did not carry a mint mark, if you have a 1976 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, it means it was made in Philadelphia. These are common overall, but again, condition is key. A no mint mark 1976 Kennedy half-dollar in circulated condition is usually worth face value, but in uncirculated condition it can bring a premium. And if you find one of the silver issues, the value increases further because of both the silver content and collector demand. Collectors value these coins because they represent not only the history of President Kennedy, but also the history of America's bicentennial celebration. The fact that the coin carries dual dates, 1776 to 1976, ensures that it stands out from all the other Kennedy half-dollars. That uniqueness makes it valuable to both beginner collectors and experienced numismatists. When talking about value, we must remember that coin collecting is about more than just money. The 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is valuable in historical terms as well. It symbolizes America's 200th birthday, the endurance of freedom, and the memory of President Kennedy. Many families kept these coins as keepsakes from the bicentennial celebration, and that sentimental connection has helped preserve so many examples in good condition. If you take a closer look at these coins, you'll notice that there are subtle variations depending on the mint. The coins from Denver carry a D mint mark, while the San Francisco Mint produced both clad and silver collector versions, many of which were proofs. But the no mint mark Philadelphia coins are special in their own right, since Philadelphia was the birthplace of American independence, and fittingly the mint there struck millions of these bicentennial half-dollars. The value of a 1976 Kennedy half-dollar also depends on whether it is a regular strike, a proof strike, or a silver edition. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint are especially prized because they were struck with extra care and have mirror-like finishes. Even the no mint mark coins can be valuable if they are preserved in pristine condition. Collectors often seek out examples that look like they just left the mint. Another reason why this coin is valuable is because of its popularity with both casual and serious collectors. Unlike some coins that only appeal to specialists, the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar is widely collected by the general public. Many people who aren't even coin collectors remember holding onto one of these coins or receiving them during the bicentennial celebration. That broad appeal ensures the demand for this coin remains strong, which helps keep its value solid. Let's also talk about errors and varieties. The 1976 Kennedy half-dollar has been known to have some striking errors, including double dies and off-center strikes. These errors can greatly increase the value of the coin, sometimes multiplying its worth many times over. Collectors love these rare mistakes because they are both unusual and historically significant. Even if you only have a regular 1976 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, it is still worth holding on to. Many collectors build complete sets of Kennedy half-dollars, and the bicentennial issue is always a highlight in those collections. Its design is unique, its history is important, and its appeal is timeless. That's why even circulated examples remain desirable. Over the years, the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar has gained a reputation as a must-have coin. It's not just another half-dollar. It's a coin that represents American history, celebrates independence, honors a beloved president, and continues to attract collectors. Its value lies not just in its metal content or its rarity, but in the meaning behind it. If you are building a collection, the 1976 Kennedy half-dollar should absolutely be part of it. Whether you collect Kennedy halves, bicentennial coins, or U.S. commemoratives in general, this coin holds a special place. It bridges the gap between everyday circulation coins and commemorative issues, making it both accessible and valuable. So, the next time you see a 1976 Kennedy half-dollar with no mint mark, don't overlook it. This is a coin that carries history in your hands. It's a coin that millions of people celebrated during the bicentennial, and it's a coin that continues to hold collector value today. Next up, the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with the P mint mark is a coin that many collectors overlook, yet it has significant value, importance, and historical meaning in the world of U.S. coinage. The Kennedy half-dollar series is one of the most popular modern series in the history of the United States Mint, and the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar stands out because of its unique placement within the series timeline, its minting history, and the special characteristics that make the P mint mark issue worth collecting and worth learning about. The Kennedy half-dollar series began in 1964 as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy following his assassination in 1963. Americans wanted a way to honor him, and the half-dollar was chosen because it was large. It was important in circulation, and it carried prestige. From the very first issue in 1964, the Kennedy half-dollar became a coin that people saved, collected, and admired. By the time we reached 1981, the series had been circulating for almost 2 decades, and the coin had gone through several changes. Silver was removed after 1970 for circulation issues. The designs remained the same, and the coins were largely struck in copper-nickel clad. But the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar is notable because of its mint marks and production figures. The P mint mark on the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar tells us it was minted at the Philadelphia Mint. It is important to remember that before 1980, Philadelphia coins traditionally carried no mint mark. But beginning in 1980, the United States Mint began adding a P mint mark to coins produced in Philadelphia, with very few exceptions. That means that the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with a P is only the second year that Philadelphia half-dollars were struck with the P mint mark. This is a key historical fact that adds interest and value, because it marked a new era of mint mark policy for U.S. coins. Collectors recognize this fact, and they prize these early P mint mark issues because they show the transition in U.S. coinage history. Now let's look at the design of the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with P. On the obverse, we have the portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. This iconic design has remained one of the most recognizable faces on American coinage. The reverse of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal with the eagle, olive branch, and arrows, surrounded by 50 stars representing the states. These designs are filled with symbolism and carry deep meaning for collectors. On the obverse, just below Kennedy's neck, you will see the small P mint mark, identifying it as the Philadelphia issue. This detail is critical for collectors because it separates the 1981 P coin from those minted in Denver and San Francisco. The specifications of the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar are also worth noting. This coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, weighs 11.34 grams, and is composed of copper-nickel clad with a pure copper core. While the earlier silver half-dollars are often sought after for their intrinsic metal value, The clad issues, like the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, are collected more for their numismatic value, meaning their historical, collector, and condition-based worth. And this is where the value of the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, with P, comes into play. In circulated condition, many 1981 Kennedy half-dollars, with P, mint mark, are only worth face value, as millions were produced and many entered circulation. But the key factor is condition. Coins that survive in high grades, especially in brilliant uncirculated condition, are much scarcer. Collectors want coins with sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of heavy wear. In those higher grades, the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, P, becomes valuable, especially when found with clean surfaces. Another point that makes this coin interesting is that it was the last year before a gap in circulation production. After 1981, Kennedy half-dollars were not struck in large numbers for circulation again until 1983, as demand for half-dollars dropped. That means the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, with P, mint mark, represents one of the last heavily circulating issues of the early 1980s. This gives the coin historical importance and a role in the broader story of how Americans stopped using half-dollars in everyday transactions. Collectors also look for special varieties and errors in the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, with P. Some coins show double dies, off-center strikes, or planchet flaws that increase value significantly. These mint errors are highly collectible because they add uniqueness to a coin that otherwise might seem common. For example, a 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, with P, that shows doubling on the date or letters can bring in far higher prices than the standard example. Even minor misstrikes are desirable to era collectors. When looking at value, it is clear that not all 1981 Kennedy half-dollars, with P, are equal. Circulated examples may not hold much value, but uncirculated, high-grade examples are where collectors pay attention. In addition, proof coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint, but the circulation strikes with the P mint mark are a completely different category. Collectors of complete sets need the P mint mark coin from 1981, and this demand helps maintain its value. Another reason collectors continue to prize the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, with P, is the ongoing popularity of the Kennedy half-dollar series itself. The coin represents not only a tribute to a beloved president, but also an era of American coinage that bridges the silver coins of the 1960s with the fully clad coinage of the late 20th century. Many new collectors begin with Kennedy half-dollars because they are large, attractive, and full of history, and when they build their sets, the 1981 P becomes a coin they must acquire. Over the years, auction results and collector sales have shown that the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with P mint mark in high condition brings in strong demand. While average circulated examples may not fetch much, the scarcity of pristine mint state examples means that collectors will compete to secure the best pieces. And as time goes on, finding these coins in untouched condition becomes harder, because so many were used in circulation or mishandled after they were minted. If you have a 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with P mint mark, it is absolutely worth taking a close look at. Check the surfaces, check the luster, and check for any signs of doubling or errors. Even though many people dismiss these coins as common, the truth is that certain examples can be very valuable, and collectors are always looking for quality. The 1981 Kennedy half-dollar with P mint mark tells the story of U.S. coinage in the early 1980s, of the evolution of mint marks, of the end of heavy half-dollar circulation, and of the continuing tribute to President John F. Kennedy. It is valuable not only as a piece of metal, but also as a piece of American history. Collectors who build sets, collectors who focus on errors, and collectors who love the Kennedy series all seek out this coin. That demand ensures its importance in the hobby, and that is why this coin is valuable and why it should not be overlooked. The 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with the D mint mark is a coin that every collector should know about because it carries both historical importance and potential collector value. The Kennedy half-dollar has long been one of the most popular series in American coinage, and the 1982 issue is particularly notable because of its place in U.S. mint history and the role it played in the early 1980s. The coin we are focusing on here The 1982 Kennedy half dollar struck at the Denver Mint with the D mint mark is a coin that might seem common at first glance, but it has many details that make it important, collectible, and valuable depending on condition and variety. The Kennedy half dollar series began in 1964, introduced as a memorial coin to honor President John F. Kennedy after his assassination in November 1963. Americans immediately embraced the coin, and the Kennedy half dollar became one of the most recognized pieces of modern U.S. coinage. Over the decades, the series transitioned from silver to clad, from heavy circulation to limited use, and through all those changes, collectors have followed the Kennedy half dollar closely. By 1982, the coin had already gone through several important changes, and the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with a D mint mark represents an issue that collectors value both for its history and for its role as one of the last heavily circulated half dollars of its time. The obverse of the 1982 Kennedy half dollar features the familiar portrait of President Kennedy designed by Gilroy Roberts. This profile of Kennedy has become one of the most enduring designs on American coins, representing leadership, honor, and the memory of a president who inspired the nation. On the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, we see the presidential seal with the heraldic eagle, the olive branch, and the arrows, surrounded by 50 stars. These designs have remained consistent throughout most of the Kennedy half dollar series, but the 1982 issue stands out because of its historical context. Just below Kennedy's portrait on the obverse is the D mint mark, indicating that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. That small detail, the D, makes a huge difference to collectors because the mint mark tells us the origin of the coin and helps distinguish it from Philadelphia and San Francisco issues. One of the most important facts about the 1982 Kennedy half dollar is that it was a year without official U.S. mint sets. That means that collectors who wanted pristine examples of 1982 half dollars could not rely on a government-issued mint set to obtain them. As a result, finding truly high-quality uncirculated 1982 Kennedy half dollars with the D mint mark is much more difficult compared to other years, where mint sets preserved coins in excellent condition. Most 1982 D half dollars were released into circulation, where they quickly picked up wear, scratches, and marks. This lack of mint sets creates a scarcity of top-grade examples, and that scarcity is exactly what drives value for the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D. The specifications of this coin are typical for clad Kennedy halves of its time. It has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, weighs 11.34 grams, and is composed of outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. While earlier half dollars contained silver, by 1982 the half dollar was strictly a clad coin. That means its value is not based on precious metal content, but instead on numismatic demand and collector interest. And in the case of the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D mint mark, collector demand is strong because of the year's unique circumstances. Now let's talk about the value of the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D. In average circulated condition, these coins may only be worth face value, since millions were produced and many survive. However, the key factor is condition. Because no official mint sets were issued in 1982, coins in high uncirculated grades are significantly scarcer than most people realize. Collectors will pay premiums for coins that are bright, lustrous, and free from heavy marks. In top mint state grades, especially MS65 or higher, the 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D can be very valuable compared to its face value. The lack of mint sets keeps the supply of pristine coins low, while demand remains strong. Another factor that can greatly increase the value of the 1982 Kennedy half dollar D is the presence of errors and varieties. Collectors love error coins, and 1982 is no exception. Some examples show double dies on the obverse or reverse, while others may exhibit off-center strikes, die cracks, or planchet flaws. These errors make the coin stand out and add significant value. An ordinary circulated 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D might be common, but an error coin from that year can be worth much more, depending on the rarity of the mistake. That possibility keeps collectors searching and examining every 1982 D half dollar they find. The 1982 Kennedy half dollar with D also has historical importance beyond just numismatic value. By the early 1980s, half dollars were no longer circulating heavily in daily commerce. Most Americans rarely saw them in change, and many coins were either hoarded by collectors or ignored in circulation. This decline in use is part of the story of the Kennedy half-dollar series, and the 1982 D issue is one of the coins that illustrates this period of transition. Even though millions were struck, relatively few people kept them aside in pristine condition, which is why today collectors must work harder to find nice examples. Another point worth noting is that the Kennedy half-dollar itself continues to be one of the most popular coins collected by both beginners and advanced hobbyists. Its large size, attractive design, and connection to President Kennedy make it a natural choice for collectors. The 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with D mint mark plays a special role within that series because it represents not just another year, but one of the key dates for condition rarity. Collectors who build complete sets of Kennedy halves cannot skip the 1982 D, and that demand ensures that this coin will always have value. Over the years, auction results and collector markets have shown that the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with D mint mark can bring strong prices in top condition. While an ordinary example in worn condition may be common, the real value comes from those coins that survived untouched. Some rolls of 1982 half-dollars were saved, and collectors who find such rolls today can uncover coins that are brilliant uncirculated. Those are the coins that can sell for far more than face value. If you own a 1982 Kennedy half-dollar with the D mint mark, take a close look at it. Check its condition. Look at the mint mark placement. Inspect the surfaces for errors, doubling, or unusual features. Even though many people think of this coin as just another modern half-dollar, the truth is that the 1982 Kennedy half-dollar D can be valuable. Collectors appreciate its scarcity and high grade, its historical place as a year without mint sets, and the excitement of potential errors.